Good morning, First Universalist. Please rise and embody your spirit. Join me in singing our opening hymn, Come, Come, Whoever You Are. It's number 188 in the gray hymnal if you like to read.
Come, come, whoever Good morning, and welcome to First Universalist. My name is Reverend Laura Smitzik. I use she, her pronouns, and it is my privilege to serve as one of the ministers here at First Universalist Church. Jim is knocking things over there. My goodness, it's my joy to lead worship this morning with Amy Bryant and Jay Albright, who are bringing their musical talents, and my colleague Jim Foti. Jim is an affiliated minister with First Universalist. He'll talk about that a little bit. He received his Master's of Divinity from Meadville Lombard School. It's one of our UU seminaries, and he currently serves on its Board of Trustees. He served as the assistant minister at First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis for 8 years, and his current areas of focus include short-term ministries, activism, and writing fiction, nonfiction, and poetry. He and his partner, Ralph Wyman, are members here. And gratitude to John and Olu, who are holding it in back there so that we can have our Zoom going and sound and slides. To Martha, who brought the flowers this morning, and to all of you who helped keep this place beautiful. Thank you for being here this morning, for taking a risk on connection and community and the power of love wherever we show up. Welcome to this community where we create when we gather, a community that sings in times of joy and sorrow, that prays together, that sits in silence, and that holds one another. If you are new, we are super glad you're here. We have a welcome table down in the social hall. So if you leave this sanctuary afterwards, walk into the social hall, there should be a table with the welcome sign. We're a little short-staffed because it's summer. So if it's not there, I'm going to find my way to that table, and please join me. We also have folks online, and I will be on my computer later. So just know that's what that's about. Welcome to this place where we lean into a universalist understanding of faith that names in each and every one of us as whole and holy, worthy and welcome and wanted, always with room to grow. Welcome to a community of love where we practice beloved community in a love that is so inclusive and expansive and irresistible that it cannot help but transform us individually and collectively, creating a world here and now of mutual thriving for all. Let's just take a moment and settle ourselves in the pew this morning by taking 3 intentional breaths together. And from this place of connection and calm, we remember the hopes and the promises that keep us together. And we say, love is the spirit of this church, and service is the law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Our childcare is open on Sunday morning during the summer, and our programs for school-age children and youth will begin again in the fall. We welcome people of all ages here today to rejoice and gather as one. Come, let us worship together. So the title of Rev. Jim's sermon today is Tales of a Traveling Preacher. And during new member classes, I talk about the differences between early Universalists and early Unitarians. They were separate liberal faith traditions until they merged in 1961. As Reverend John Cummins, who served here for a long time, describes them, Universalism was a populist movement. It swept westward with the great American migration of the 19th century, while the Unitarians, but for a few Western outposts, largely remained in New England. Yet for more than a century, they shared many of the same ministers and views. So today, I'd like to talk briefly about a Universalist minister named Quinlan Shin, who was a charismatic, far-ranging evangelizer. Most of his story comes out of a UU World article. Shin was founded nearly 40 churches between 1870 and 1907. 40 churches. He recruited more than 1,000 new members, and it's said that he personally persuaded 30 other people to take up Universalist ministry. By the time he died, he had visited every state in the Union at that time and most of the Canadian provinces, traveling thousands of miles a year, many on horseback and on foot. His diary revealed a grueling schedule, sometimes averaging a sermon a day. He also founded Ferry Beach, which is a UU summer conference center in Maine, which some of you may have visited. I know I've spoken to some of you who have. Supposedly, when he signed the register there and was asked for his address, he listed it as everywhere. UU historian Reverend David Johnson said that Shin believed Universalists needed to get together in great gatherings, encourage everyone together in their faith. He encouraged everybody and everyone to get into the act. Universalists rejected eternal damnation, and this theology lit Shin's fire. He was a sensationalist preacher of the revival movement, a traditional Bible-centered Universalist. He believed that his message, the love of God, the immortality of the soul, and the universality of salvation was so exciting that all would embrace it once they heard it. There is no hell for any of us to fear outside of ourselves, he taught. There's no hell for any of us outside of ourselves. Shin saw prospects for Universalism everywhere, and he traveled to the tiniest hamlets to preach. By 1900, he was focused on the South, which he called the Piney Woods. Shin's message was to ride into town. He would circulate a flyer and set up a meeting anywhere he could. And as soon as he identified a family member or a few individuals who were excited about this message, he worked with them in a community organizing type fashion, building a committee, a youth group, or a women's aid society that was the seed that was planted for a future congregation. Then he would hop on to the next town and repeat the cycle, earning him the monkier grasshopper missionary. Yet Shin regularly circled back to check on his church seedlings, and he often raised most of his expenses and the cost of the church's construction. Whatever we might think of Shin's approach, some of the churches he planted are indeed still alive over 100 years later without much water or nurturing, but most did not survive. Even this omnipresent missionary couldn't reverse the tide of Universalism, which was in decline by the turn of the century. Universalists were dividing between world religionists and biblical Christians, and their message was not as clear. The Universalist as a denomination had little central structure to assist its missionary work, and few ministers to send to new churches. While Unitarians were really based in Boston and had Harvard as its center place, the Universalists were more spread out. Shin's model often offers lessons for church planting today, his devotees say. Still, we have that reticence, don't we? Observed Stevenson, a minister of the Universalist church that Shin once served in Foxborough, Massachusetts. You all may know that you struggle with the word evangelize, and certainly don't use the language of being missionaries. However, as Red Stevenson from Foxborough Church once said, maybe we need to get over it and be more like Quinlan Shin and get out and tell the good news. So nice to have Jay here playing musical interludes. So each Sunday we take time to bring our joys and sorrows into this space. Sometimes we speak them out loud and have them repeated from up here. Sometimes we share them with others in the pew, and sometimes we hold them in the silence of our own hearts. If you want to be certain that something in your life will be spoken out loud to the congregation and held in prayer during the service, please reach out to a minister or staff member. We have a mechanism where we track these and make sure that they get brought into the service. Here, every Sunday, after we speak our words of grief or gladness together, we say these words in unison. You are not alone. We are holding it together. Today, our thoughts are with Amy Zimmer, her husband Mike, and her children Josh and Grace on the death of Amy's father, Donald Albert Doakson, who died on July 21st. Don attended First Universalist during Reverend John Cummins' ministry and began what would become a 3-generation family connected to First Universalist. Amy, Mike, and Josh and Grace, you are not alone. We are holding it together. And Jeff Snyder is in Rochester right now preparing for heart surgery. He is supported by dear friends up there, he has told me. He asked for your prayers on the 11th, which is the date of his surgery. Jeff, you are not alone. We are holding it together. And it is with gratitude and excitement that Blue, Black Lives UU, where First Universalist is the physical home of Blue, they share our office space. They just announced that they hired a new minister for worship and spiritual care, Reverend Dr. Dante Hilliard, last week. Reverend Dante will be welcomed this afternoon at the Blue service online. The Blue community worships every second Sunday of the month at 3 p.m. our time. Blue's online service is a Black sacred space in its entirety, by and for Black people, with the words and voices of Black folks across the diaspora. With joy, we celebrate with Blue, reminding them that they are not alone. We are holding it together. And here at First Universalist, we welcome Casper. He's not here physically right now, he's camping, as our community connections coordinator. His bio was in the Liberal last week. Cass will start this coming Tuesday and has a varied portfolio based on belonging and community. He is a lifelong UU who was raised at Unity Church Unitarian, and he recently completed a year-long ministerial fellowship over at White Bear UU Church. As we welcome Kaz, let us remember that you are not alone. We are holding it together. And as I look upon all of you this morning, faces that I've come to know and love, people who I've had the privilege of supporting and who support one another in such profound ways, let's just take a moment to hold our own personal gladness and sadness, both for ourselves, for each other, and for the world. Let's just take a moment of silence together. I know it's sometimes hard when you're out in the world to remember that this place exists and that hearts are open and loving and caring for you. Just keep in mind that you are not alone. We are holding it together. Blessed be.
Hello. Hi. My name is Dallas Rising. I use they and she for pronouns, and I am one of your worship associates, and also I work for Moose Jaw, Minnesota Unitarian Universalist Social Justice Alliance, and that makes me the person to talk about our offering today. And I'll share what that is in a moment. Just got a little lost in telling you who I am. So each Sunday, we engage in the spiritual practices that bring our faith alive in the world. In the Universalist spirit of love and hope, we aim to give, to receive, and to grow. And in this time of offering, which is our sharing of resources, we remember to trust that when we all share what we have, we can all have what we need. And we are reminded at this time, and all times in community, it's a time not only to give, but to receive. I think that's one of the really wonderful things about this church, is that we make it clear every single week that if you are in a place where you're needing to practice receiving, if you're in a place where financial or spiritual care would help, let one of our staff know. Reverend Laura today, or Allison downstairs, if you know Allison. Or you can talk to me, and I will get you in touch with either of them. We or someone in our congregational care team are here to support you, truly. And each Sunday, we also talk about how we take turns in what we need and what we can bring, and we exclaim that this is how we hold it together. So today's offering is going to you, the vote. And if you are someone who is living with anxiety, anger, disgust, discouragement, or fear about the future of our country, democracy, authoritarianism, you are not alone. We are holding it together. And one of the ways we're doing that is by participating in you, the vote actions. Last week, we heard from Jenny about the efforts to help people access their right to vote, Margie too. And today, you can join me and Debbie Easterling and Allison Wanchoba. Can I get some waves? I see Allison and Debbie over in the back. Ralph Wyman, not here today, but mentioned earlier, in helping to write postcards. They look like this. We can talk to you about them downstairs in the social hall afterward. And really, honestly, y'all, we need to hold it together on this because we need to do 675 a week to meet our goal. It's really big. So if you're in for helping some of it, please, it's time to pull together on that. We are helping write postcards to occasional BIPOC voters in a key district in North Carolina. We need lots of help, so come talk to us about that. It's simple, concrete, and we need people to help organize it too, so talk to me about that. You could also join in the faith track of the National Convergence for Democracy. It's coming up on August 21st through the 23rd at the Convention Center. Or you could join me and Ralph and CT, if you can wave over there. CT is over here, at the Solidarity Summit happening October 3rd in Duluth, Minnesota. UUs from across Minnesota and Wisconsin will be gathering together to learn skills and to organize for what we're going to do about all the things that are happening around the election and beyond. And those Solidarity Summits are happening across the country. And here's the thing. We need to have some resources. We need to have some money to help. Money that allows us to move quickly and without hesitation when there's a need. We don't yet know how this story is going to play out with this election. We don't know what the work will demand yet, or the opportunities that we'll find. But the time to prepare is now. So we appreciate all of the feelings that you're holding about the threats and the actions that this administration has already been taking. And many of you have come to this church as the result of some really hard feelings about something political that moved you deeply enough to seek spiritual community among others who also share your values. I know this, I've spoken to many of you. Our faith calls us to engage in justice work, to embrace and pursue equity, and to be generous. And we also believe in transformation, even when the outlook feels dark. We cannot do it alone, but together there's always hope. We'll receive our offering now. Thank you, CG. Thank you.
Like you want to sing along, it's okay. One love, yes. One heart. Give thanks and praise to the Lord, and I will feel alright. Get together and feel alright. Let them all pass their dirty remarks. One question I'd really like to ask. One heart, is there a place for the hopeless sinner who has hurt all mankind just to save his own? Sing it with me. One love, you sound so good. One heart, let's get together and feel alright. One love, one heart. Give thanks and praise to the Lord, and I will feel alright. Let's get together and feel alright. Let's get together and vote out this holy Armageddon. So when the man comes, there will be no doom. Have pity on those whose chances grow slimmer. There ain't no hiding place from the Father of creation. So we sing one love, sing it together. One heart, let's get together and feel alright. Singing it together now. One love, oh, one heart. Give thanks and praise to the Lord, and I will feel alright. Let's get together. Let's get together and feel alright.
Our first reading is a brief reflection from Reverend Dr. Sophia Bettencourt, who's the president of the Unitarian Universalist Association. I believe that a pluralistic call to being is about empowering people within their own value systems and faith traditions to be as fully human as they can. Each and every different tradition calls us to live with our lifetimes and to bring that best self through our faithful practice into shared space for work of peacekeeping, humanity, and justice. I want you to be your best Hindu self, if that is your practice, and to join me on that meeting ground as my best Unitarian Universalist self, so that we can sit down and push into whatever we can be as one human community that has multiple faith expressions of our best possibility. And our second reading is a poem called Detour by Ruth Feldman. I took a long time getting here. Much of it was wasted on wrong turns, back road riddled by ruts. I had adventures I never would have known if I proceeded as the crow flies. Superhighways are so sure of where they are going. They arrive too soon. A straight line isn't always the shortest distance between two people. Sometimes I act as though I'm heading somewhere else, while imperceptibly I narrow the gap between you and me. I'm not sure I'll ever know the right way, but I don't mind getting lost now and then. Maps don't know everything.
Thank you for those readings, Reverend Laura, and thanks to everyone who is making this worship service happen. It is so good to be back here. Before I start, I want to take a quick moment to explain the phrase affiliated community minister, since that's what I am here at First Universalist, and nobody knows what that means. It is a designation for UU clergy who are members of a congregation but not part of its paid staff. There are several of us here at First U. There's typically a covenant between the affiliated minister and the senior minister, and this agreement specifies that the affiliated minister supports the shared ministry of the congregation in a variety of ways, and agrees to serve when asked and when possible, in some capacity beyond what lay members are able to do, such as offering sermons. So this morning, I am grateful to be here not as a paid guest speaker, but rather as a member serving the church, just like so many of us do to make this place what it is. I'm going to start with a story from early in my ministerial formation, when I was already living the life of a traveling preacher. I was in the middle of my internship at Unity Church in St. Paul, and I went up to the White Bear UU Church to fill in on a summer Sunday, just like I'm doing right now. I do not remember what my sermon was about, but I do remember that I selected the hymns that we would sing together as a congregation. And I very clearly remember that one of those hymns did not go well. It pretty much fell apart, and by the end, most people in the room were no longer even attempting to sing. In the humbling silence that followed, someone called out, "We've done better." We all shared a laugh and moved on with the next part of the service. Everyone seemed to roll with the mistake. But then I didn't get invited back for 14 years. I thought, maybe these people need a sermon on forgiveness. Of course, today is my first time speaking here at First Universalist since 2017, so maybe there's an issue here I don't know about. I think everything's okay. Everyone's pretty open about these kinds of things. So, what I do know is that for 8 years, I was an assistant minister at the First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis, which made it hard to be anywhere else on a Sunday. But before and after that, I've been a minister in motion, focusing on guest preaching, consulting gigs, and short-term ministries, including filling in for colleagues when they go on sabbatical. I have spoken in some capacity at 24 UU congregations, mostly here in the Midwest, but also as far as Washington, D.C., and the U.S. Virgin Islands. And because my partner and I are church nerds, we'll often attend UU services while traveling. So I've sat in pews in California, Colorado, Texas, Georgia, Virginia, and a couple of cities in Massachusetts. And even when we're there on a weekday, I'll go tour a church building, which I've done in Boston and South Carolina. I know that ministers who work for the Unitarian Universalist Association certainly have visited more UU spaces than I have. It's their job to go from congregation to congregation. But I do think I've seen more than the typical UU, and maybe more than the average settled minister who can't move around as much. So today I want to talk about some of what I've seen and experienced, the similarities and differences in the 1,000 or so congregations that are stitched together to make up the beautifully pluralistic quilt of Unitarian Universalism. As we embark on this virtual tour, let's start out front with the signage bearing the names of congregations. Unlike, say, Catholics who have a lot of Our Lady or Saint somebody, and usually include the word church in their names, UUs are much less uniform. Across the country, our movement has fellowships, societies, congregations, parishes, and churches. My sense is there are more parishes in the Northeast and more fellowships as you head south and west. Some of our fellowships chose the word fellowship in their name to emphasize what I think of as horizontal theology, focusing on their fellow human beings. While some of our churches have had church in their names for hundreds of years, like this place, and it's still the right word for their community. We have some societies where members casually say, "See you at church," and we have other societies where the word church might get a frown. There is no template for congregational names, just variety, like a colorful garden. Then, once you're inside, past the signage, how does the service start? In some of our congregations, the clergy process into music at the beginning of worship and walk out to music at the end. At others, the clergy and worship associate are already sitting on the chancel when the music starts. But at the end, they do walk out to music. So there's no grand entrance, but more of a grand exit. Maybe that's what our first hymn meant by lovers of leaving. Or maybe the ministers decide to hang out on stage before worship so that 3 minutes before the service, no one stops them in the lobby and says, "I know this is a bad time to tell you something important." And then goes ahead and tells the important thing. There is no official policy on this from the Ministers Association, but the clergy I know think we are absolved if we forget something that we're told right before worship. And then while you're in worship, or the service, or the assembly, UUs have a range of words to describe what we're doing right now. The music varies widely. Some places play the organ every week. Some have an organ but can't afford to tune it, or there's no one to play it. Some don't have an organ at all. We don't have an organ hiding somewhere, do we? No, okay. Many of our congregations strive for musical variety to meet the diverse yearnings of their membership, but others stay in a narrower range. I spent time at one congregation where I never once heard any music involving a guitar or a drum. Maybe these instruments appeared on the weeks I was off. "Hey, Jim's gone, bring out the heavy metal." But I mostly think classical music was what the majority liked, and so that's what was performed by the musicians in the large choirs. At the far other end of the spectrum, tiny fellowships often use recorded music or YouTube videos, as they don't typically have the budgets or volunteers for live music. There can be copyright challenges with this if they're streaming, and sometimes an ad will pop up in the middle of worship. But the upside is that videos allow for an extremely wide range of genres to meet a variety of interests. A lot of congregations tried this during the pandemic. As a visiting minister, sometimes I'll simply get told what the music will be. Sometimes I'm not even told and I'm just surprised when I get there. Other times I'll have a great collaborative conversation with a lay leader or music staff about how the performed music could enhance the arc of the service. Once, in a sermon about fighting authoritarianism, I mentioned that some protesters had blasted La Bamba to drown out a KKK rally. So the church band ended the service with an impromptu La Bamba dance party. That was one of those great to be UU moments, and I know we have them in this church too. Such moments happen because of the freedom and options that we have. So after the service, there are congregations where congregants will wait 10 or even 20 minutes in line to talk to the speaker. While at others, there is no line at all, and the minister is sort of cast out, and maybe a half dozen people will say a quick thanks. Then there are a few congregations that do not even wait for the service to be over to give feedback. They include a talk-back Q&A session right in the middle of worship. I am tempted to bill extra for those. Not because I don't like dialogue, but because for me personally, the format makes worship feel less like a sacred or sacramental time. That said, if it's on the program in whatever place I'm visiting, I do it, because ministry is not about my personal preferences. It's the practice that follows the community's tradition and meets a need. And so on Sunday mornings across the country and in pockets around the world, we Unitarian Universalists meet in sanctuaries and fellowship halls and auditoriums and chapels and assembly halls, as well as in libraries, community centers, and schools. Our buildings have lobbies and foyers and narthexes. They have chancels and stages. They have podiums and lecterns and pulpits. From these podiums, lecterns, and pulpits, I have delivered sermons, messages, talks, reflections, homilies, and addresses. So many different words for similar things. Unitarian Universalists owe a debt to the Norman conquest of England in the 11th century, which flooded Old English with lots of new French-flavored words with duplicate meanings. This has given us plenty of language to choose from as each individual and congregation finds the terminology that works best. And we Unitarian Universalists can do this. We can have these differences in language and music and ritual and practice because of our polity, our system of denominational governance. As you may have learned, this tradition of independence goes all the way back to our Puritan ancestors in Massachusetts, who decided in 1648 that decisions should be made at the congregational level. At least 3 major religious movements are named not after their beliefs, but after their style of governance. The Episcopalians, led by bishops, the Presbyterians, led by elders, and the Congregationalists, who wanted to be in charge of themselves. We're the direct descendants of those New England Congregationalists. And while our theology has evolved and expanded considerably since the Puritan days, thank heavens, our preference for self-determination has remained across the centuries. In the language of the time, those colonial-era churches made the free and independent choice to walk together, helping each other as needed while pursuing their own journeys. This independence has led to tremendous innovation, revelation, and customization in our congregations, allowing them to meet the needs and wishes of members. We truly are part of a living tradition. Some of our congregants in our congregations take great comfort in hearing Spirit of Life and repeating the same words for the chalice lighting every week. By contrast, other congregations are what I've heard called high novelty. They expect and are nourished by new opening and closing words and new prayers every week. You might hear Spirit of Life a couple of times a year. This is more work for those preparing a Sunday service, but it provides a different kind of reward and meets a local need and expectation. The order that a service takes place in also is not written in stone. For example, whether the offering comes before or after the sermon is a highly studied, sometimes hotly debated issue. And the last few times I've been the pulpit guest down in Milwaukee, my hometown, the service has started with the prayer and meditation, with the words of welcome and the announcements coming after a shared moment of silence and reflection. Clergy and other lay leaders are able to do these kinds of experiments and make these kinds of changes without checking with a bishop or a denominational committee. Ours is not a religion of edicts. There are guidelines and expectations and collaboration, yes, but not much is handed down from on high, allowing for significant variation and freedom. This customization has many benefits. New England is not the Midwest. Minneapolis is not Wayzata or even Matamidi. A communion service using 19th century silver would be embraced in some UU congregations and would definitely not fly in others. We are free to have our lecterns or pulpits. We are free to hire ministers we find suitable, free to direct our social justice efforts where we see the greatest needs, free to espouse theological outlooks that best match our essential selves. And our clergy have long had complete freedom to speak the truth as they see fit. This is the internal side of our embrace of pluralism, pluralism within Unitarian Universalism. We have a diversity of religious outlooks within our congregations, with humanists and agnostics and theists and more living and learning side by side. And we also have diversity among our congregations, something that is readily apparent here in the Twin Cities area. Then, collectively, as Unitarian Universalists, we embrace an external pluralism, acknowledging that there will never be a single human religious perspective, and that we humans can be the richer for that fact, able to learn from each other and walk together in many ways. We know that we must protect the rights of others to believe as they wish as fiercely as we protect our own. We are in this together right now across religions, especially in a time when religious freedom is being targeted by Christian nationalists in top leadership positions in our country. But this customization of UU congregations, this individuality, is not without its downsides. As the expression goes, if you've been to one UU congregation, you've been to one UU congregation. This makes it difficult to spread the word about what our religion is like, because it's not like anything else, and our congregations aren't really like each other. Another area where our differences create challenges is when UUs move to a new city or state. There are countless stories of young adults who loved growing up UU, and then they go off to college. They try the nearest UU congregation, which is half the size or 10 times the size the one they grew up in. And even though there's a chalice and a welcome team, they feel out of place. They feel notably younger than anyone else in the room, usually, and everyone's a stranger instead of people they've known all their lives. Not only that, but the minister is unknown, the music is unfamiliar, the rituals are foreign, and the size difference is jarring when you go from large to small or small to large. It's a very different culture. It does not feel like home because nothing that's not identical ever can feel like home. UUs of any age may experience something like this if they relocate or if they attend General Assembly, our national gathering held in person every other year. The worship style may be completely different and feel like another religion altogether, even if the content is mainstream UU values. This kind of dissonance when we travel away from home may not be fully resolvable, but rather is something to live with and live into as a reality of how Unitarian Universalism is. And so it is that a wandering but not lost UU minister might find himself having very different experiences at our very different UU congregations. I'm going to divert from the text here to tell you guys, I'm in a lot of pulpits, 10 out of 10 on this pulpit and this microphone, the best. And also, I'm going to give you the largest chalice flame award. To the point of almost scary, but yes. Speaking of pulpits, one day I might be standing in a pulpit designed by Frank Lloyd Wright, and I can tell you it is stone and does not move. That one's at one of our largest congregations, the one in Madison, Wisconsin, which has so many members that they have to hold 3 services most weekends of the year. Another weekend, my partner and I might find ourselves down in Georgia at a conference sponsored by the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee. And so I decide to cram into the pews of the big, bustling UU congregation of Atlanta, where there's hardly a seat to be had. But that's kind of okay because there wasn't much sitting. This is the American South, and people are used to church rock bands and standing and moving their bodies throughout worship. Just a couple of days before, the minister in Atlanta had led a powerful and prophetic prayer before legislators gathered under the gold dome of the Georgia Capitol, and the church was celebrating her success. She had spoken truth to power like UUs have been doing across the country. And then, on a very different weekend, I might find myself serving as a guest minister in the U.S. Virgin Islands, where a small but mighty UU congregation has existed for more than 40 years. They do not have a minister, but they have a guest apartment for speakers. They meet in a schoolhouse and have survived multiple Category 5 hurricanes. They are a life-giving, justice-spreading community in an imperfect paradise, a place with vast racial disparities, rampant government corruption, and very few religious liberal options. On the first of my 2 Sundays there this past March, I spoke about what Operation Metro Surge was like for us in Minneapolis. Attendance that day was pretty high for them, 18 people. And I could not have been more grateful to be there. I bore witness to their good work and the blessings and challenges of their lives, and they, like all the UUs I've crossed paths with this year, sent gratitude and good wishes to the people of Minnesota. Whether a congregation has 25 members or 1,100, whether it's in a metro area that's a hub of UUism or a remote island outpost, every UU deserves good ministry, stable religious community, and spiritual inspiration. And so I encourage you, as you continue to make this place a beacon of loving community, to do three things. One is to keep embracing your internal pluralism, to celebrate your differences in theology and musical styles, and to celebrate your common ground, moving forward as one strong body. Another thing is to keep looking outward toward the pluralistic community of Unitarian Universalism, to visit other congregations when you travel or click on an online service, and to do so not from a position of critique, but from a posture of curiosity and learning to witness and affirm our shared values. Whatever your congregation is experiencing, positive or less positive, there's at least one other one experiencing it somewhere. You are not alone. And a third thing is to support UU institutions that serve as the stitching that holds our quilt of congregations together. Organizations like the UUA and the Minnesota UU Social Justice Alliance. Such organizations have been invaluable resources for collective power in this decade of pandemic and authoritarianism, and they offer crucial support to UUs in more isolated or far-flung places. I hope to keep visiting those far-flung places, bringing ministry to where it's needed in a given moment, doing my small part for our movement, providing relief for ministers who are on the front lines and exhausted. And our movement, because our movement changes lives and helps move the world forward. I'm tremendously grateful to be a traveling preacher, and all of us who do a little UU exploring can benefit from the wider perspective it provides. As the famous T.S. Eliot quote reminds us, "We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time." May we always move through the world in ways that let us learn more about others and ourselves, and may we always live and love together. May it be so, and amen.
Please rise and embody your spirit. We'll sing hymn number 1028, Fire of Commitment. This one's in the teal hymnal, if you want to read.
Fire
gives the benediction, I have a few quick announcements. First, the electoral engagement team is going to have a table after church again. They're willing to offer rides to anybody who wants to vote early because the voting place in Minneapolis is open today. Also, the early adult group, a group for anyone who is 18 plus and out of high school to 39.99 years old, is holding an early adult fall planning meeting after the service today. They'll be in the Cummins room, which is the room right next to the social hall. I see some waving going on over there. All early adults are welcome. Jim, I welcome you to the pulpit.
Our closing words today are from Eric Williams. Blessed is the path on which you travel. Blessed is the body that carries you upon it. Blessed is your heart that has heard the call. Blessed is your mind that discerns the way. Blessed is the gift that you will receive by going. Truly blessed is the gift that you will become on the journey. May you go forth in peace.
Thank you. I should learn your name. Gail.
Gail, yeah.
The music is the most important spiritual connection for me.
That's so sweet.
And if I can feel it as well as hear it, I love that.